Hello everyone, Namaste, Hare Krishna. So we'll get right into it. So today the topic is we'd like to share some of our experiences, some tips in relation to what we've been doing here where we are about self-sufficiency and how we got this place, and so purchasing land and then how to develop it. So that's what the subject is today. So I'll just give a little history about ourself, our background. So when I was young, I had an interest in plants and nature and growing things. So I studied in horticulture in university. And then after that, I met the Hare Krishnas. So that's when I was about 20. And so then that took me down another road towards my spiritual growth. And during that period in the Hare Krishna movement, I was involved with managing a farm community in Australia, so that was a very good experience. And then after managing that farm community, my wife and I came back to New Zealand just over 3 years ago, and we got the property we're currently at, which is in the northernmost part of New Zealand, the far north, near to Kaitaia, 20 minutes from Kaitaia. We got 6 acres of land, which is about 2.5 hectares. So that's a little bit of our background. So feel free to ask any questions as we go along. You can put your comments in there, your questions, and I may answer as we go along or at the end. We'll see how we go. And the time is very short, so just 1 hour. So I don't know whether we'll cover everything on the topic. If not, if anyone's interested, we can go on further on another occasion. And if I say anything that's a bit challenging to the false ego, please don't take it too seriously. Everything we say, we try to keep it just in following with the timeless Vedic culture, which is the universal truths, and it's for our benefit. So we don't mean any offence to anyone. So yeah, first of all, because the talk is about self-sufficiency, so let's explain what I mean by self-sufficiency. So according to the ancient wisdom from India, the Vedas, the body needs 4 things. 1, it needs food and to eat. So, and 2 is it needs to sleep. So that means we need some shelter for the body. And mating is generally there because every species, like to reproduce and everything like that, right? So reproduction is there, mating is there, need some companionship and like that. We're social animals like that. So that's a need of the body. And then defending is the 4th one. Those are the 4 needs of the body. The body needs some protection, some defense. And there's a fear mechanism, right? And that fear mechanism is there to protect the body. Otherwise, it would just die, But because fear is there, then we protect the body, we defend the body. So these are all natural functions of the body. So it's especially in these 4 areas that we want to be as self-sufficient as possible. Not that I need to be self-sufficient in making my own mobile phone and so forth, or TV, because we don't need those things. They're not essential things that we need. But we do essentially need food because we have to eat. And we do need some land because we've got to sleep somewhere. We need some shelter. We need a roof over our head. So these areas we want to not to depend too much on other people. That's dangerous. I hope you can understand that. I mean, we experienced that during the lockdown period. That there was, in some places on the planet, finding food on the supermarket shelves was very scarce, like that. And people realised, I'm in a pickle. Now there's not the food that I want, like that. So depending too much on other people for our basic needs is risky. And you run the risk of shortening your lifespan. And even in terms of, you're getting food from other people, but you don't know what they put in the food. It could be so processed and everything, and they could put toxic things in the food, or it's so refined that there's no nutritional value in it. And then, how are you going to maintain your health? And I feel that's like the number one crisis in the world today is this health crisis. And that's mainly due to, poor food quality and putting so much, toxic things in our body that shouldn't be there. So having a good quality food, organic and fresh, and it's very important. That's the number one need is food. So, and where are you going to get that food? You're going to get the food that comes from the land. Therefore, land is important, because if you have land, you can produce your own food. And that's the number one need of the body. Okay? So, that land is so valuable. According to Vedic culture, real wealth is 2 things, land and cows. That's it. It doesn't say real wealth is gold. It doesn't say real wealth is a credit card or anything like that. Having a car and a phone and a fancy apartment in the city or whatever. No, real wealth is land and cows. Because why? Because then your food problem is solved. If you have land and cows, you're going to live like a king. You're going to be eating such delicious food that's so healthy as well. And of course the cows, because you're getting so much of your food is coming from the cows, the milk, and then from that you make the butter and the yogurt and fresh cheese and so many delicious foods. You can combine grains with dairy products and fruit and vegetables with dairy products and so forth, and they'll be very tasty, and everything you need you'll get from that. So that's real wealth, having land. You can, and of course if you have land and you don't grow food on it, then there's no value. What's the point? You got some land, and what have you got on it? Just grass or some cactuses or some natives or whatever like that, but no food. Then it's no value. What's the point? The real value is you extract from the land is when you grow food on it. I mean, I was, when I was young, a real fanatic for natives, very much. But now I realise it's not so important. I mean, natives are already there. They're growing everywhere. You don't have to go and plant more of them. There's already growing everywhere. But they don't give us so much food. Of course, you can get from the natives, there's some medicinal value. You can get medicines, and the Maoris, some people know, about the medicinal value you can get, but you can't get a lot of food, like bulk food that we need to eat every day. So especially we should be growing food crops on the land, then you're like a king. Then you're the richest person. You're the richest person there is. If you have land and you're growing food on that land, then you have everything that you need. In the West, our definition of self-sufficiency is basically you do everything yourself. And I've tried to some degree to do that. It doesn't work, I can tell you. So don't bother trying to do that. You're just going to hurt yourself and not get a good result. Don't try to do everything yourself. The Western idea is rubbish. You can throw that idea in the bin. That self-sufficiency means you've got to do everything yourself. What does that mean? You're going to build your own house by yourself? You're going to make a veggie garden by yourself, make an orchard by yourself, maintain cows, look after cows, milk the cows. You're going to chop the firewood, cook the lunch, clean the house, make your own clothes, and on and on and on and on. And I'll tell you what, 24 hours is not enough for that. And if you can live more than 6 months doing that, you're amazing. You'll probably kill yourself if you try to do everything yourself. And you're going to get burnt out, even if you don't die. You're going to get burnt out, and you're going to be working more harder doing that, trying to be self-sufficient. You're going to be working more harder than what you ran away from in the city because you were working too hard in some stupid office or factory. You're going to be working even more harder than that. So that's not a good outcome, and that's not the kind of science we want to be following. I mean, we say Western is very scientific, but a lot of the things we do in Western society is, oh my God, it's like so unscientific. Because if you make the experiment, you get such bad results. It produces our philosophy and so-called culture in the West is produces such rotten results. Why do we continue to do it? It just doesn't work. Best is to look at the traditional cultures, very ancient traditional cultures. And what did they do? How did they live? And I tell you, before the last couple of 100 years, 200 years ago or whatever, the Industrial Revolution started, how were most people on the planet living? In villages. They were living in villages. So they weren't doing everything themselves. They were specializing in one thing. They would specialize in one thing. And what was that? Everyone has a particular nature. As an individual, we have a particular nature. So what does that mean, your nature? Basically what your nature means is what you're good at doing. Two things, what you're good at doing and what you like to do. Okay? If you're good at doing something but you don't like it, that's not your nature. And if you like doing something but you're not good at it, that's not your nature. And if you're not good at it and you don't like it, that's definitely not what you should be doing. And unfortunately, in modern day society, most people on the planet, that's what they're on about. They're doing a job that they don't like it, and they're not good at it either. And then neither they're going to be happy, and neither anyone else around them is going to be happy. So what's the solution? You should just do what you're good at doing and what you like to do. But how's that going to work? Because, like I said, we need 4 things. We need so many things: eating, sleeping, mating, defending. So how are you going to get everything you need if you're just doing one thing? How it's going to work is like that village situation where you specialize in one thing. That's your nature, and you work together cooperatively. You work together with other people who are also specializing in one thing. And everything is done very well. They're all doing what they're good at and they like to do. So everything is done really first class. All the activities are done really. Someone's a first class builder. And someone's a first class at growing vegetables. Someone growing fruits. Someone's milking the cows. Someone's first-class cleaner, someone's a first-class cook, and you all cooperate together. Cooperation is so important, that we all work together cooperatively as a team, as a big family, and in that way every individual has what they need. But not that you're doing everything yourself, but you're all combining, and you all the products and your services and everything are sharing and everything like that in the village. But also that everyone has their own bit of land. So it's not that, see, our modern idea of a community also doesn't work very well. And I know, because like I said, I managed a community which was the property of the Hare Krishna Trust, and people lived on there like that, and people visited there and that. It was 500 acres, big place, and it doesn't belong to any particular individual. But it doesn't work very well, because the benefit is you can get access to the land without needing a lot of money. You can just come and do some service there in the community, whatever. So that's very good. But the problem is there's no security, because it's someone else's land, or it's the trust's land. So in a few years down the track, if the person doesn't like your face anymore or whatever, and they say bugger off, get lost, then, where are you? You got nowhere. So there's, your needs, that's not a good way of sorting out your needs, because there's no security in that. Like I said, a need is defending. So we need to have some reliable place like that. If you're out on the road, that's not very secure. So that's not very good. For that reason, you can get the land on the land without any money. That's very good, but there's no security. Whereas if you have your own bit of land, the disadvantage of getting your own bit of land is it may cost a lot of money, right? But the advantage is it's your land, and no one can tell you to get lost like that. So that's the advantage of that. And I mean, that's a new problem we've created, that it's so expensive to buy land. Previously, that wasn't there. Previously, going back 200 years minus, then you just approach the king and say, hey mate, I need a bit of land for my family to live on. And he says, sure, you can have this bit of land over there, a few acres over there, and whatever you produce on the land, you give me 25% of it. That was the kind of deal it was, that you had some taxes you had to pay, but you didn't have to pay any money to get the land. You just have to contribute. If you grow 100 sacks of potatoes, you give 25 sacks to the king, and he's happy, and he's going to protect you as well. So, and then you're going to have real good security like that. So that was the traditional system going back in history, and it was really good, really good. Now we've created it so artificially that you need $1 million or whatever, to get a bit of land. It's ridiculous, and so it's very hard for people to get started. But if you do have money, if someone does have money, then that's the best thing to do. And what stuffs people up sometimes is they have money, but it's locked up in a fancy place in the city. They've got some fancy apartment or house or whatever in the city, and they want some land or whatever, but they don't want to sell. They don't want to sell the place in the city. And then that's difficult. It's like you want to have a foot in both. You want to keep one foot in the materialistic life, in the city, and then you want to have one foot because you like being in nature and everything like that, and you want to grow some organic apples or whatever like that. So you have some desire to live in the country because it's a nice environment, peaceful and everything to live in, and good food, but you also attached to being in the city. But that's not going to work very well, because unless you can come up with the money, you won't be able to get the land. But you can come up with the money, but if you're prepared to cut off or detach from the city. So if you're prepared to sell that house or whatever, if someone has, then you can get your foot in the door. You can get some land like that. But that requires, like I say, to be a bit detached from the modern materialistic life. And some people, or a lot of people, are not prepared to do that. So anyway, that's just a few things about self-sufficiency. Yeah, so please don't think you can do everything yourself. It's not going to work. You're best just to focus on a few things that you're good at doing, you like to do, and try to work in with the local people. I mean, we're very lucky here where we are in Northland. The people around us are very nice, and that's one of the reasons why we came to this area, is that we found the people very friendly, because that's so important. We need help. If you think you're an island, that you can do everything yourself and you don't need anybody else, you're an illusion, sorry to say, because it's not possible. We're not Superman or whatever. That's only in the movies. We need help, but the thing is that you want to be depending on people that are close by you, that you have some friendship with and some loving relationship with, okay? So that kind of dependency is not bad. What's a bad kind of dependency is depending on some nutcase on the other side of the world that just wants to make money and doesn't give a stuff about you, but just wants to exploit you. And that kind of dependency that we put ourselves in the city, that's not good. That kind of dependency we want to get out of. But to be dependent on some neighbours and the local town or friends, village like that, that's not bad. That's more in line with the original system. So that's what I see as the solution to getting what we want and reducing the risk that we're currently in. Okay, so now let's get into about purchasing land. So the very first thing you want to do, even before you put your foot on the land, is have a very clear idea. Have a very clear idea in your mind, what do you want? That's very important. If it's clear in your mind what you want, then the universe or Krishna or whatever you want to call the person or persons that control everything, then they may be able to help you, which is important. We need help. Like I say, we can't do everything by ourselves. So, but you should be clear in your own heart, in your own mind, what do you want? Otherwise, how can anyone else help you, whether it's Krishna or the universe or whatever? How can anyone else help us? So, and it's amazing, and I found it so true, because exactly what I strongly wanted in my heart for many years, it was in my mind for many years, and where I am today is exactly what I wanted years ago. Is exactly tick, 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 everything I wanted, I got it. And that's not because I'm the universal controller, but that's just because I got some help from those that are in control. So that's a very important thing to get in, very clear in your mind. What do you want? What do you want? Now I'll tell you what we wanted. And what we want and what you want can be completely different. That's all good. But I'm just telling you from, like I said, this is all from my experience. So I'm telling you what my experiences are. I wanted some fertile soil on the land. It didn't have to be the whole land was fertile, but I wanted some part of the land that's fertile soil, and it makes my life easier. I mean, you can make even the worst soil productive, but it takes a hell of a lot of energy and time and inputs and everything to turn that barren land into something very good. I mean, there are people that can turn desert back into fertile land, but that's a hard job, and I'm getting old. I'm running out of time and energy and everything like that. So I didn't want to have to do that. So you want some bit of the land should be reasonably fertile. So therefore, I wasn't looking at land on the top of a mountaintop, like that, is surrounded by a native bush, which is looking very nice, having a good view, and lots of bush around you like that, but it's not very practical if you want to produce food. And remember, that's what we need is food. What you need is not a good view, as you don't need a view of the sea, or a view of the native calories. You don't need that for survival, but you need food, and you're not going to get food very easily on the top of a mountaintop, like that, or right next to the beach. It's not going to be easy for that, and sandy soil like that. So I wanted good soil, and I wanted as pure water as possible, like that. So, of course, you can get water from the city, but that's not very pure. It's full of chemicals and processed and everything. You can get water like in the rural areas. They get water from the roof, and that's stored in a tank. But that's just sitting there. It's not high energy, and there's a lot of rubbish on the roof that goes in there. And you got filters in that, but it's very complicated. Then you got filters and so many things, and it's still not very high energy water. And the best water is coming straight from the mountain. A river or a stream coming off the mountain, running over the rocks and pebbles and stones and everything like that. That's very high energy, prana it's called, and very vitality, good for vitality. But you want to get it direct from the mountain. If it's run through 10 farms before it gets to you, then it's got contaminated again. All the runoff from the farms and the chemicals and fertilizers and herbicides and that is run into that. And you can use it for the garden and that, but you can't really drink it, which is not so good. So ideally, if you're looking for land, look for some land that backs right up to a mountain. Not on the mountain, because then it's not going to be very good soil, but right at the base of the mountain. Because remember, due to gravity, right, all the good stuff goes downwards. So whenever it rains and everything like that, all the good, nice topsoil comes down off the mountain and it ends up in the valley. So if you can be like in a valley, the base of the mountain, that's primo. If you got water coming straight from the mountain, that's the best. And luckily we got that. So we're on the northern side of a hill or a mountain, on the northern side. And here in the southern hemisphere, you want to be on the northern side of the hill. Otherwise, you're not going to see the sun. And vice versa if you're in the northern hemisphere. So yeah, if it's north facing, that's ideal in the southern hemisphere. Then you're going to get nice sunlight. Second best is east facing. The morning sun is also very good. West is like third best, west facing. Western, the morning sun is giving energy, and the afternoon, after midday, the sun is taking away your energy, according to the Vedas. So that sun is, even for the plants, it's not so good for the plants, the afternoon sun. But if you got morning sun, or midday sun like that, that's very good. So these directions are good. For me, I wanted the land to already have a house on it, because I'm not good at building, and I don't like building. So I didn't want a bare piece of land. I wanted just at least a simple house that we can have some shelter like that. So and we managed to get that. And I would say, a lot of us, we want a big fancy house, but that's actually not very good for self-sufficiency, because you have to cough up more money for that. And if you have to go and work, in the city after you get the land, you have to go work in the city to pay for your mortgage for your big fancy house or whatever like that, then you've defeated yourself. You might as well just have stayed in the city. You have to be free. You have to be free to, once you get the land, you have to be free to work on the land. At least one person. If it's you and your wife or you and your family or whatever like that, or some friends or whatever get together, at least one person has to be free to work on the land. Otherwise, things aren't going to grow automatically, except for weeds and grass and, stuff, natives. So if you want to produce food, someone has to be there to work on it. So if you get a big fancy house and a big mortgage and then you have to go and continue working in the city or find a job, then you might as well not bother. Don't do it. Don't do it. So try to get, if you got whatever value of money you have, try to get as much land as you can and just a basic house. And if you are a builder or you know a builder that can do that for you, then you don't even need a house. But try to get a maximum amount of land, and that's, like I said, some fertile soil and facing good direction, good water. These are all really good things. I wanted to be off the grid. I didn't want to depend on these materialistic people for our energy, electricity, like that. So, and it was already there when we came. It was already off the grid. So that was ticking another box. The place that we have, it's got solar panels and also hydroelectric. So because we have water coming from high to low, that flow of water also you can generate electricity from that. So that was already set up. But when we came here, the solar wasn't working properly, and neither was the hydroelectric. So I got an expert to come in. And he fixed it. So it wasn't working when I came, but then I got an expert to fix it. And so, like I mentioned, but I'll just say it again. I mean, and that was our case, that we purchased this without any debts. So you don't want to have debts. You know, according to Vedic culture, the definition of material happiness is to have no debts and you don't have to travel to work. That's it. That's not spiritual, but that's just materially. To be a happy person is a person without any debts and doesn't have to travel to work. So that's what our situation is, that we got this place without any debts. And that was only because, I mean, I'd been a Hare Krishna monk for 30 years. I had no money. But my wife had worked in the system, and she had saved that money, and with that savings, we bought this place. It was just it was very cheap by modern standards, what we got this place for, and 6 acres of land, and basic house which we renovated when we came here. We renovated it like that to make it livable, and then away we go. But yeah, if you have to get debts, I'd say don't bother, don't do it. You know, just somehow or other get to the point where you can get the land without debts. Otherwise, it's too much risky and too much anxiety, too much work, and you're not going to be happy like that. So whereas now, like, I can just walk out of the door and I'm at work. I don't have to travel to work. That's something you want to get away from. We're risking our life every day. We travel, like that, whether it's in a car or a plane or whatever like that. It's you're wasting your valuable life and taking risk, and it's bad for your health and so many things like that. So this is ideal. Like I said before, a couple of 100 years ago, most people on the planet like that live in a village, and they just walk out their door and they're at work, and they milk a cow and they grow their crops, and away they go. And the only time they travel is for a holiday. That's the only time you really want to be traveling, is like if you want to, like in India, people will visit holy places, go on pilgrimage and tirthas, they call it like that. Or we go on our Christmas holidays or whatever, you travel around, go to the beach or whatever. That's when you want to travel, not that every day you have to travel to work. That's just insanity like that. So those are some things about purchasing land, some things you can think about. One thing initially was in my heart that I wanted was 100 acres. I'm so glad that the universe didn't give it to me, because I can't even manage 6. I can't even really look at. So yeah, don't think too big. Don't think too big. I want 100 acres and blah blah blah, or 1,000 acres, because it's going to kill you. Even 6 I struggle with. I reckon if it's just plants in your system, you want to have a veggie garden orchard, a couple acres is enough. You can grow heaps of food just on 2 acres. If you got animals in the system, like cows especially, or you got sheep and alpacas, llamas, or horses, or whatever is in the system, then you need more land for the animals. Like in New Zealand, it's usually 1 acre per cow. You need 1 acre per cow. In Australia, it's more likely, 2 acres per cow, because there's not so much grass there like that. And so, yeah, if the more animals you have, you need more land. But, yeah, we've got a couple old cows, and we got a couple like 2 or 3 acres for them. And then I got 2 acres or more for the orchard and vegetable garden. That's heaps. And I got an acre or two of native bush. with a river going through it like that. So that's heaps of land. You don't want too much. Otherwise, you can't maintain it. Now, it's just going to grow into gorse and weeds and everything. What's the point? What's the point of paying all that extra money for the extra land if you're not even using it? So only get enough land what you can use. Why get more than what you can use? Like that. So just think in terms of that. So in developing the land, so first of all, determine what the usage is of the land. What are you going to do with different areas? Okay, this area is fertile. Okay, that area will make sense for me to grow my fruit and veggies there. If you got, like 1 acre of fertile land, don't go and plonk your garage on it or your house on it. Don't spoil the good land by putting some stupid building on it. That is for growing the vegetables and the fruits will need that fertile land like that. So I picked I got 2 acres that's quite fertile. That is for the fruit and veggies only. I don't put cars on it, no car park, no building, no concrete, no asphalt, no spraying like that. Just look after that land. That's my wealth, is where I can grow food there. So plan out where's what, and then say that area you're going to grow your veggies and your fruit trees. If there's any existing trees that are going to be having their roots are competing with your orchard and stuff like that, or their shade, it's going to be shading where you're going to plant your trees and that, or it's going to be over the top of where you're going to put your house or whatever like that, then cut those trees down before you plant anything. Because one mistake I did, I was so gung-ho, so enthusiastic to plant trees. As soon as I got the land, I immediately started planting trees. And then afterwards I realized, oh my God, I should have removed that tree, and I should have taken out that tree, a big old macrocarpa and pine tree and everything. I should have cut that out before. But after you put your trees in, because the tree, when you cut the big tree down, obviously it's got to fall somewhere. And you don't want it falling on your nice young little peach tree or your avocado tree. It's going to smash it to a million pieces. So more intelligent is to have a good look first at the land and see what trees do I need to remove. You've got like a 30-metre high tree that's in the way of your garden. Cut that down first and let it fall on the bare land, no problem. Then cut that up for firewood. You can use that for firewood. And then plant your orchard. Then put your orchard in. And I highly recommend, I can't tell you enough how much I recommend this, get a soil test done. Do a soil test, find exactly what's in your soil, what's in there, what's not in there. And whatever's not in the soil, you have to put it in there if you want the trees to grow well. And whatever you've got plenty of in your soil, don't add any more. And that's one mistake I made too. I added some natural fertilizer to the land in the beginning, and the plants freaked out because already there was enough in the land, and I went and put more, so it was too much. So then I got the soil test done. But better to do the soil test first. And with my land, for example, it's got heaps of everything except for 2 things. It doesn't have, oh God, I've only got quarter of an hour left, that's no good. It doesn't have enough phosphorus and sulfur. Doesn't have enough phosphorus and sulfur. So I just buy those 2 things, natural phosphorus and sulfur. One guy's just asking, how do you get a soil test done? So there's one if you're in New Zealand, there's one company in New Zealand called Hills Laboratories, HILLS. They're in Hamilton, south of Auckland. You go on their website, they'll tell you what to do, but basically you just got to throw some soil, cut out some soil with your shovel, with your spade, and dig it up and put it in a bag and send it to them, and they'll tell you what's in your soil. And that's, I can't recommend that enough. That's absolutely so valuable. And so I just buy sulfur and phosphorus, and man, my trees go well. So that's part of the reason. That's part of the reason. You've got to give the plants what they need. Don't give them what they don't need. You've got to give them what they need. Make sure they get what they need, and then they'll grow, and then they'll produce fruits like that. So, okay, machinery. This is actually even before you plant the trees. I don't recommend putting heavy machinery on the land because you're compacting the land and you're screwing up the soil, microbial living system and everything by putting in your rotary hoe and ploughing it and putting the heavy stuff on there. And it costs a lot of money. I mean, we spent like $100,000 in buying a new tractor for our farm in Australia. That's a lot of money. You know, better to save that money. And also you've got to maintain it, you've got to buy diesel and everything like that, and God, that's not simple living. We're doing this to try to live simply. So if you can avoid heavy machinery, that's good. There's one exception. The one exception is there's a device which is pulled behind a tractor, which is called a ripper, which is imagine like a big fork, which is a big fork, and that'll get dragged behind the tractor. And that'll crack any hard subsoil and allow the water to go in properly and loosen up. It'll loosen up the soil. So that, if you're going to do that, you just do it once. Only once, and that's before you plant your fruit trees and before you plant your veggies and that. Just get some local farmer to come in and just rip the land. And I didn't do that because I got a lot of rocks under the surface. So I would have broken the machine. But if you don't have a lot of rocks or whatever, if you got hard clay and no rocks, then that's something you could do. Just pay money once, get a guy to come in and just put the ripper in, and then that. But otherwise, I wouldn't put any heavy machinery in. Just do it all manually. Like that. And how I get rid of the weeds is very simple, because we do it all organically here. Otherwise, what's the point of spraying chemicals and poisoning yourself? You may as well just keep buying stuff from the supermarket if you want to do that. So we do it all organically, and so I don't like fighting with the weeds, especially we have a terrible one called kikuyu, which is like fighting with ropes. So I don't want to fight with that. So I just put big sheets of black plastic. You can buy that from a place called Carter's or, any hardware places. It's like 4-metre sheet by 25 metres, so 100 square metres, and you just lie it down, the black plastic, and you pin it down with rocks or bits of wood or whatever so it doesn't blow away, and then leave that there for a couple of months, in the summer especially. A couple of months is heaps, and then that'll just kill all the weeds, then lift it up, and you just plant straight in that. You don't have to need a machinery or whatever like that and kill the weeds and spray and everything. So that's just an organic way, and it's very easy to do. And then I just shift the black plastic sheets around and just keep, getting new areas done. So that's just for a veggie garden. For a veggie garden, I do that. For an orchard, you don't need to do that. For an orchard, you just need to dig a hole and plant your tree. So that's no problem. But that's just for a big area of a veggie garden, like that. And one useful small machinery is called a brush cutter. So it's basically a stick with an engine on one end and a blade on the other end. It's got a steel blade on the other end, and that's used for cutting down the grass. Because in your orchard, you're planting trees 6 metres apart or whatever distance, 4 metres apart, and then you're going to have weeds and grass grow up in between. So you just cut that periodically with a brush cutter, and that's not a waste of time. Usually I don't like mowing grass, but this is not a waste of time because I gather that grass and put mulch around the trees, so it helps keep my trees fertilized with the decaying grass, and also keeps them moist, and I don't have to go around and water them, because you don't want to have to go water stuff too much, so that keeps them nice and moist. Another important thing in developing the land is, like I said, we can't do everything ourselves, so make friends with the locals. Make friends, it's very important. Make friends with the locals. Don't be impersonal, and you don't talk with the neighbours. In the city, we don't do that, right? You don't talk to your neighbours. But in a farming situation like that, self-sufficiency, you have to talk with the neighbours. And don't make enemies with them. Make friends with them. Especially farmers, especially the local farmers. We love our local farmers. And because we get so much good things from them. I get wood chips from the farmers, I get sawdust from the farmers, I get old rotten hay bales from the farmers, I get piles of cow dung as much as I want from the farmers, which is all fertilizer. And you've got to feed the soil, feed the soil. My motto in growing food is feed the soil, feed the soil, feed the soil. In the modern system, you feed the plants directly by giving artificial fertilizer, but the soil gradually turns into a desert. So if you don't want your land to become a desert by just, feeding the plants artificial fertilizer and neglecting the soil, then feed the soil. Forget about the plants, feed the soil, and the soil will feed the plants. So do you get it? You feed the soil, and the soil feeds the plants. Okay, so that means food for the plants. Soil means organic matter. So anything organic, your veggie scraps, food scraps from the kitchen, anything rotten, any manure, any kind of animal manure, any plant waste, as much bulk organic material, like I said, from the farmers, like that. And I tell you what, you might not like this, some of you, to talk about, but our human poo is a very important part of the system. We actually have a toilet in the house, this house that we have, but we don't use it. My wife and I, we have a composting toilet set up outside the back of the house under the deck. And we use that. And it's got a 20-litre bucket under the seat. And every day I empty it out. I put it under a different fruit and nut tree. I don't use it in the veggie garden, but I use it in a different fruit and nut tree every day. And it's such a cool system. And it doesn't stink like the modern idea of a composting toilet, which is you let it decay underneath where you sit, which I hate that system, and it's smelly and everything. So we don't even need a fan or any fancy things like that, because I clean it out every day, and it's such an awesome system. And I set up that toilet with a shower cubicle for a bucket bath, to have a bucket bath there. So I got a toilet and a bucket bath set up there in a little cabin area. I don't have really time to show you. I'll do that as a separate post. And that cost me maybe $500. And do you know how much you spend on your bathroom in your fancy house in the city? It's probably at least 30 grand. And then you got to have separately, you got to pay more money for a septic tank, which is a big tank. They dig a hole in the ground, put a big tank in it. And then every year or two, whatever, you got to pay more money to get a truck to come out and clean it out. And then it also needs a pump to make it work. Whereas I don't have any of that. So I saved like 50 grand. So if you're setting up a land, that's what I recommend. Just set up a composting toilet. Save yourself 50 grand. You don't need a septic tank, which is just shipping off your fertilizer and making it toxic waste. And I'll tell you what, it's the worst invention the human beings ever made was a flushing toilet. Number one, 100%. You push that button, you flush like 10 litres, 12 litres, 15 litres down the gurgler, mixing it with your poop, which makes it anaerobic. That means there's no air, and that the bugs can't decompose that poop because you mixed it with all that water. So instead of a little bit of a waste product, you've got a huge waste product, which becomes someone else's problem, the government's problem down the road or whatever. Some other people have to smell that next to the sewage treatment plant. It's such a terrible invention. The best thing, save your water. You don't need any water with this system, except what we use. We use a bit of water to wash our backside after we go for a poop, and then that's it. And also, when I pee under the tree, under the plants. I don't pee in the toilet. What a waste. Your urine is full of nitrogen. What do plants mainly need? Nitrogen. So it's a no-brainer. No-brainer. You don't pee in the toilet. You pee under your whatever you want to grow. I'll tell you what, I got one rose that was not doing well for 2 years, more than 2 years. It was hopeless. It was diseased, not giving me any roses. And I just came to me one day, I'm going to pee under this rose. Once a day or once every 2 days, I'm going to pee under it. And oh my God, it's the best rose I have now. It's absolutely the best. It looks beautiful, no more disease, and it pumps out roses. This is completely awesome. Completely awesome. So you need fertilizer. If you want to produce food, you need to feed the plants. You need fertilizer. So whether it's cow poo, human poo, vegetable matter, or whatever like that. So let's get on. Yeah, so make friends with the farmers, get stuff from them, and your neighbours, invite them around to have a meal. And, everyone will love you if you feed them, right? What do they say? The best way to a man's heart is through his stomach. So feed the local people, invite them to come or go and take them something. I'll tell you what, one of our neighbours, we knew it was his birthday, so we made a cake for his birthday, and he loves us. We made a cake for his birthday, so, and then you help them, they help you. So it's a reciprocal relationship, and you're all helping each other. Some neighbours, I go to the gate one morning and there's a box of apples there, or there's a bunch of bananas, or so many things. I have too many pumpkins, I give it to them. So barter system, exchange different things, help each other. I needed to build a composting toilet. One of the neighbours helped me to build it. I built it real quick. And then another time I had to go away. It was an emergency. I had to go away, and I needed someone to look after the dog. One of the neighbours looked after the dog, so I could go away. Otherwise, you can't go away like that. So it makes sense, just have a nice local community, and you help each other. One thing that's really good. So, I planted nearly 300 fruit and nut trees, so that's a lot to keep track of, and you forget what they are. So I made a map of the place. Let's see if I can switch this around. I made a map of the place. I don't know if you can see it very well, probably not. But anyway, this is a map of the place. It's all in pencil because I need to be able to change it. See all the numbers there? That's full up with numbers. There's the house there. There's the house there, and all these numbers. That's all plants. That's all plants. And then on another piece of paper. There's another piece of paper I have, because the number, so 1 is a gardenia, 3 is heliotrope, 4 is feijoa, like that. So then you write down what they are. Because, you're going to lose those, you're going to lose the labels, or they're going to fade or whatever, and you're going to forget what it is, like that. So, and what I did, I just planted one of this and one of that. I didn't want to eat 100 million apples, so we don't have it's not a commercial. You don't want to do a commercial operation. This is just for survival. So you don't want to have 100 million apples. I mean, who's going to want to eat that? And that's only for 2 months of the year. And then what are you going to eat for the other 10 months? So the way we've done it, you just get one of this and 2 of that, is that you get 12 months supply of food. Like now, we've just been gorging on tropical guavas. And now they're nearly finished, but then the bananas have started. So we'll be gorging on bananas. And then it'll be, something else. Then there'll be citrus, and then there'll be, tamarillos, and then there'll be avocados, and blah, blah, blah. So then 12 months, you got different things.
There's a comment there's a question there.
Oh, John is saying there's a question?
Yeah, it says, I was told unless it's from an organic farm, cow stool from a dairy farm will be contaminated with all the antibiotics they give the cows.
Okay. So one person has said, if we're getting cow dung from a farmer, then won't it be contaminated with their antibiotics and things like that? Yeah, I agree. It's not perfect. But what I would say is, in the age that we're living in now, you're not going to be able to do anything perfectly. If you want anything 100% pure, it's just not realistic. I'd say it's just not doable. I mean, we have 2 cows, and we do use their cow dung too, but I can't get enough. I've got like 300 trees. The cow dung from 2 cows is not enough. I need to get more. So for me to do it, I mean, I do the best. See, you just do the best you can. And I accept that. What we're doing is not 100% pure. It's not 100% perfect. But even if you can get it 60% perfect, it's still better than 20%, which is like in the city or whatever. So it's still you're going in the right direction. And eventually I might not be relying on getting the stuff from that farmer. But however, I mean, the farmer I use, he's not very materialistic himself, so he doesn't put a lot of artificial inputs in fertilizing the land and chemicals and spraying and so many things. He'll use some, but not as much as like these big farms. He's not like 1,000-hectare farmer, with 1 million cows and everything. He's just a small-time farmer. So, yeah, I would just say that, try to go to a small-time farmer. He's not so, materialistic and everything like that. And, just do the best you can. But that is a good point. There will be some impurities there. But I tell you, I mean, the bugs, if you've got a lot of, microbial bug activity in your soil, they will break down. Even if some artificial chemicals do enter in from outside, if you've got a lot of life in your soil, they will digest and break down, some of that stuff. But yeah, I agree, it's not completely perfect. Yeah. And I would just say keep it simple as possible. Don't bring too much high-tech stuff into it, because you're not going to be able to maintain it. Like, I love my hydroelectric system because I can maintain it myself. All I have to do, if there's a flood, it'll stop working and I just go and clean the filter. But if you get fancy things like pumps and so forth, you can't fix them. You need to go and buy another one or get some technician to go and pay him $100 an hour to fix it like that. So just try and do low-tech stuff rather than high-tech stuff as much as possible. And we're running out of time, just another couple minutes. But this is something serious. If you're not prepared to kill the pests that are going to be attacking your food supply, the fruit, the veggies or whatever, for example, possums destroy the fruit and nut trees, and rats eat all my sweet potatoes like that out of the ground, then if you're not prepared to kill them, then don't do it. If you're not prepared and you can't find anyone else that's prepared to, then don't bother. Just stay in the city, because that needs to be done. That's need to be done. And I mean, as a Hare Krishna, that's a difficult one because, in our philosophy or the culture, it's not nice to kill. You try not to kill things. It's bad karma and everything like that. But just think about it, and I thought about it a lot, that you stay in the modern system in the city, you're buying that stuff in the supermarket, I tell you, there's at least 10 times more killing in that system. There's at least 10 times more, and that's an underestimate, of the amount of killing and slaughter for that modern system, all the fruit and veggies you buy from there. Those big farmers are killing a lot more than what I kill. So we just kill what's attacking the produce on this land. So that's something you have to be aware of, that will be necessary. Otherwise you won't get any fruits and it will all be destroyed and you just wasted your time. You paid all that money for the land and then you're not going to get anything out of it because all those pests and bugs and that are going to wreck everything. And if you don't have someone that's prepared to do the hard work, then also don't bother, because it is hard physical work. I mean, the country is, physically it's hard, but mentally it's easy, whereas the city is the opposite. The city is mentally it's hard, physically it's easy. But is that good? No, the body's not designed to just be sitting around at a desk pushing buttons. It's going to get terribly unhealthy and sick if you do that. And with all the stress and anxiety and everything in your mind, it's going to kill you like that. There's so many mental problems in modern day society. Whereas the farming life is the opposite. Physically it's hard, but that's good for the health, to be working your body out every day. But mentally it's so much easier. Very peaceful, less stress and everything like that. So be prepared. If you want to do this, get some land, work hard during the growing season, which depends where you are on the planet, but that might be 6 months or whatever like that, 6 months, 8 months, whatever. You work hard. But in the winter, that's your downtime. Then you can go on a holiday, take your break, or do your meditation and whatever you want, read books or go on a holiday in the winter time when it's not growing. But like now, for example, now's the growing season here. I work from like 10 in the morning till 8 o'clock at night. From like that. So if you're not prepared to do like that, then I also probably don't bother. Don't bother. It's not going to work. At least someone has to be prepared to do that like that. And there's a lot more, but we're running over time. I'll just quickly say one more thing. Yeah, if you're going to need some money in the system, right? You're going to need some money. So in our case, I'll just tell you what happened in our case about how we dealt with the money issue. So like I mentioned before, my wife had worked hard for many years and she was good at saving it. And she had also, some of that savings, she had purchased a rental property in one city. She's got a rental property. So the rent money from that property, we live from that, especially in the initial stages. And that helped us to develop the place further. is from that rental money. So that was, in our case, what we did for an income. People asked that. And we've got a walking trail on our boundary. So we've got thousands of people that walk past our gate every year. There's a trail between Cape Reinga in the north to Bluff in the south. People walk past and they're hungry out of eating out of their backpack for 5 days. So we invited them this year to come in and have a meal. And also we've offered it as a camping site. So we had quite a few people, 150 people, take up our offer. And they all give a donation. So you can make money from your land. You know, you can make money from your land, and that's ideal. Make money from your land like that. Produce food. You know, you got the best food if you got land. You got the best food, organic, homegrown, fresh meals like that. Learn how to cook if you don't know how to cook, and feed people, and they'll give you money. And we sell some meals to neighbours. I mean, that we have given neighbours free meals, and they like it so much, and they want regular meals, and they're prepared to pay us money. Our neighbours prepared to pay us money. One neighbour was not well, and she couldn't cook for 2 weeks, so she asked us for that 2 weeks to give her meals, and she paid us for those 2 weeks of meals. So there's like that things you can do. We've done catering for local events. We go out catering. And we've done workshops here, invite people to come, and they pay money to do the workshop here. And you can do a workshop on whatever you know. You know, you can do workshops in it. Going forward, we're thinking about doing an honesty box. Like soon we're going to have too much fruit and veggies. So we'll have a little covered area outside the front gate. Put your fruit and veggies there and have an honesty box there. People throw in some money and take some fruit and veggies. And that way you can make some money from the excess produce. And we're also thinking about having cabins, and then we can invite people to stay. They can have a retreat here. They can get out of the crazy city and just chill out for a few days. We can do some workshops, and they can pay money for staying here and like that. So that's just, you know, you've got to think about something. You know, you will need a little bit of money. I mean, the idea of living simply is you don't need a lot of money. You know, that's the part of the idea. You don't need a lot of money. That means you don't have to go and work in the city. You just need a little bit of money. So you just have to think about what you can do to get a little bit of money. Anyway, I've gone over time. So thank you very much.
Comment there saying you're welcome to do some organic cows with me at my place, mate. And that's Sam.
Oh, okay. Okay. We've just had an offer for some land for grazing our cows. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So, yeah, thank you very much. And feel free to message us if anything's you thought out of seeing this, or anyone that's watching it after it's gone live. If you think of any questions you have, feel free to send us a message on our Facebook page, Christa Culture, and we'll try our best to answer your questions. And if you are thinking seriously about getting some land, we wish you all the best. And like I said, feel free to get in touch with me, and I'm happy to help you as much as I possibly can to help you to get your own land set up, because we would love there to be more things happening like this around the planet. It's very important for our own happiness and for the happiness of the whole planet, to get back to, like I said, people used to live a more simple, natural life in harmony with nature and God, and humanity and everything lives in harmony together. So we'd love more of this to happen. So if I can help you in any way, please get in touch with us and we'll do our very best. Okay, have a wonderful day. Hare Krishna.